Hey guys, welcome back to Say Mojo Homestead. I'm Cassandra, everyone calls me Cass. Today I am going to be preparing some tomatoes to freeze dry, and I thought I'd bring you along as I slice tomatoes and talk a little bit about what Jess from Roots and Refuge Farm talked about on her podcast this past week, which was her why she homesteads. In that podcast, she kind of encouraged other homesteaders to share their why. First of all, I want to share just a little bit about why we freeze dry our tomatoes. We freeze dry them because we can reconstitute them at whatever consistency we want them to be. So it's super easy, and that's why I like to freeze dry them, in case you're wondering. But as far as like my why for homesteading. So growing up, I always had access to fresh fruits and vegetables. I grew up in California in a big ag family. I wouldn't call us homesteaders per se, but we always had a big garden. We had fresh fruits and vegetables. We had citrus trees, cherry trees, apple trees, lemon trees, and nut trees. I mean, we just had a lot of fresh fruit and vegetables, like I said, and we would get our meat from a local butcher, or we would get them from the local FFA students. So I knew a lot about where a lot of my food was coming from. And not that I paid attention, but it's just something I knew. And so fast forward a few years, I got married, I got pregnant with Selah, and I started kind of researching food. Organic food was on the rise and becoming increasingly popular, and there was just more and more information about where food was coming from and the best kinds of foods to eat and all of that. So I ended up doing some research on organic dairy products, and I found this like government-based article that was basically talking about the adverse effects of hormones found in dairy, the added hormones on developing females. Now at this time I knew I was having a girl, and so this caught my attention, but basically it was saying that these hormones were affecting developing females and their ability to have babies. So I found this very interesting and concerning, and I was really concerned about why the government was aware of this and still allowing this food to be sold to our girls. Like, why were they still allowing hormones if they knew that they were having these effects on these developing females? And it started making me really question the decisions that were being made about the food that we were feeding our families. And in that research, I really started desiring to eat more healthy food that I knew was good and didn't have added hormones. We definitely went as much organic as we could, and just always tried to find a way to give our kids the best food possible. At this point in time, both of us ended up in between jobs, and it was kind of a difficult time. So we did what we could. We started a square foot garden. I bought as much as I could from like our local Whole Foods sale. On the 2 days a week they would have a produce sale, so I would buy during those produce sales and get as much good, healthy, organic food as I could. And then as we continued in this journey of growing our own food, we got this house and this property. We just wanted to grow more food. Even when we moved here, we never thought we would be homesteaders. That wasn't really in our plans. It wasn't really in our vocabulary. So homesteading wasn't on our radar at that point. But we had bees, and then we eventually got chickens and started kind of taking more control over our food, if you will, and the food that we fed our family. And then we started watching homesteaders on YouTube. My grandma actually introduced us to a couple of YouTubers. She thought we would think it was interesting that we're homesteaders. And the more I learned about homesteading and saw dairy goats and kind of learned about this lifestyle, the more I felt called to it. Then COVID hit, and we already had this foundation of wanting to provide and have more fresh food available for our family. And then we realized that there's just this very broken system. We did not want to be a part of the system that was broken or support the system. I'm sure you remember the hogs that were slaughtered and just left. A lot of things happening that just didn't sit right with us, and we felt like we didn't want to be a part of a system like that. We wanted to know that the food that we fed our family was raised in a humane way, that they lived the best life possible until it was time for them to come to an end and feed a family. I would say, like, if asked, what is my why for homesteading? I would definitely say that it started off with just a desire to feed my family well. And from there, it just progressed. And the more I learned about food and the more I learned about our food system, the more I felt like it was a system I didn't want to be a part of. And honestly, like, I have a hard time supporting, because it's a system that seems very selfish and broken and not sustainable. There was great comfort in knowing that it didn't matter if the store shelves were lacking. We had what we needed on our property. We are not preppers, we aren't really conspiracy theorists, but there is just this comfort in knowing that we can grow our own food and provide food for our family. And not only can we provide food, we can provide really great, fun, unique food for our family. And it has become this joy that we can grow things that are different than what you would find at the grocery store, and the taste is better and it's healthier, and it provides an experience for our children and for our guests that you couldn't get from buying your food at a grocery store. For me, I would say, like with most people, you start something for a particular reason, and that does grow and evolve and change as you dive into whatever it is you're diving into. But it is important to know why you do something. Just like Jess said, like, there are days when it's hard, when I don't want to go work on the farm, I don't want to go do whatever it is that needs to be done. But the reality is, like, I never don't want to have access to what I have access to now. There are nights when I'm tired and I don't want to go milk the goats. But when I think about not having access to that fresh raw goat's milk, I get up and I go milk them, because it's worth it for me to have something that my family likes, that feeds them well, that we can provide for them. And that is what keeps me going. The desire to continue to provide something that is worth putting in our bodies is why I continue to homestead. So if you are interested in homesteading, or you are thinking about homesteading, I would challenge you to really think about why. Why do you want to do this? Or what is it that's motivating you to homestead? And write it down, because there are days when it's hard. There are days when you don't want to go do the chores. There are days when you don't want to get up and do whatever is required for the farm that day. But if it's something in your heart that you really want to do and it's worth it to you, then remember that. Remember those reasons, and that'll help you continue even when it's hard and you don't want to. So yes, I agree with Jess. It is very important to revisit your why and talk about your why and share your why. So we thought it'd be really fun in this video to issue a challenge. So we are going to call out Legacy Home and Garden and Homesteading in Hungary to share their why. If you are homesteading, I would love to hear your why. I would love for you to share it in the comments, because there may be people that your why might encourage them or challenge them, or might, get them thinking about a different aspect of homesteading. If you have questions about freeze drying, for sure, I know I didn't really talk about freeze drying, but put that in the comments. We love our freeze dryer. It's not something that's required for homesteading, but it sure does make it nice when you have a pantry that you designed before you decided to homestead. Thank you for hanging out with me while I prepare these for freeze drying. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week and be blessed.